bid a house wiring project, begin with material estimation. Firstly, determine the square footage of the house and the number of rooms. This provides a baseline for material needs. Secondly, estimate the amount of wire, conduit, electrical boxes, and switches required. Consider the number of outlets, light fixtures, and appliances the house will have. Thirdly, factor in the cost of materials for specific areas like kitchens and bathrooms. These areas often require more complex wiring and specialized components. Fourthly, obtain quotes from multiple suppliers for materials. This helps ensure you get the best possible prices. Next, focus on labor estimation. Firstly, consider the complexity of the wiring, for example, custom lighting fixtures or smart home features. These features can significantly increase the time required for installation. Secondly, estimate the number of labor hours required based on similar projects you've completed or researched. Historical data can provide valuable insights. Thirdly, factor in the cost of electricians' hourly rates and insurance. Remember to account for any additional labor expenses. After that, calculate overhead costs. Firstly, include expenses such as business insurance, permits, travel costs, and equipment maintenance. These costs are essential for running your business. Secondly, determine a percentage of the total project cost to cover these expenses. A common range is 10 to 20%. Moving on, conduct market research. Firstly, research similar projects in your area to determine prevailing rates. This helps you understand the competitive landscape. Secondly, contact other electricians for insights or compare prices. Networking can provide valuable information. Now, consider markup. Firstly, add a reasonable profit margin to the total estimated cost. This ensures you're compensated for your expertise and effort. Secondly, consider market demand, competition, and your expertise when determining your profit margin. A typical range is 10 to 20%. Importantly, create a contingency plan. Include a 10 to 15% contingency budget for unexpected expenses or delays. This protects you from unforeseen costs. Lastly, prepare a formal bid proposal. Firstly, prepare a written bid proposal outlining the following. Secondly, the scope of work. Thirdly, the estimated cost. Fourthly, the payment schedule. Fifthly, the timeline. Sixthly, insurance and permits information. Seventhly, present the bid clearly and professionally. A well-organized proposal demonstrates your competence. Here are some additional tips. Visit the property. Inspect the house beforehand to accurately assess the scope of work. This helps you identify potential challenges and accurately estimate material and labor costs. Get references. Request references from previous clients to demonstrate your credibility. Positive reviews and testimonials can build trust with potential clients. Negotiate. Be prepared to negotiate within reason, but don't underbid to secure the job. Know your value and be willing to walk away if the client's expectations are unrealistic. Set clear expectations. Outline the project timeline, deliverables, and payment arrangements to avoid misunderstandings. Clear communication is crucial for a successful project. Maintain a professional demeanor and communication throughout the bidding process. Professionalism builds trust and can set you apart from the competition. When estimating material costs, consider the specific types and quantities of wire needed. For example, 14.2 wire is commonly used for lighting circuits, while 12.2 wire is typically used for outlets. Remember to calculate the total length of wire required for each circuit, taking into account the distance from the electrical panel to each outlet or fixture, as well as any bends or obstructions. Also, consider the cost of different types of conduit, such as electrical metallic tubing or IMT, rigid metal conduit, or RMC, and PVC conduit. Each type has its own advantages and disadvantages in terms of cost, durability, and ease of installation. Electrical boxes are another important material consideration. There are various types of boxes, including plastic and metal, as well as different sizes and shapes. Choose the appropriate boxes for each application, taking into account the number of wires that will be contained within the box, as well as any specific requirements for mounting or support. Switches and outlets also come in a variety of styles and configurations. Consider the types of switches and outlets that are appropriate for each location, such as single-pole switches for controlling lights, three-way switches for controlling lights from multiple locations, and ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, outlets for use in wet areas like bathrooms and kitchens. When estimating labor costs, be sure to account for all the tasks involved in the wiring project, such as running wire, installing boxes, connecting devices, and testing the completed circuits. Consider the time required for each task, as well as any potential challenges or delays that may arise. For example, working in tight spaces or dealing with existing wiring can slow down the installation process. Also, factor in the cost of any specialized tools or equipment that may be required, such as wire strippers, crimpers, and voltage testers. These tools can help you complete the project more efficiently and safely. Remember to account for the time required to travel to and from the job site, as well as any time spent on project management or communication with the client. Overhead costs can include a wide range of expenses, such as rent or mortgage payments for your office or shop space, utilities, insurance, and vehicle expenses. Be sure to track all of your overhead expenses carefully so you can accurately estimate the cost of each project. Permits are also an important consideration, as they are required for most electrical work. The cost of permits can vary depending on the location and the scope of the project. Be sure to factor in the cost of any required inspections as well. When conducting market research, consider the specific types of wiring projects that are common in your area. For example, new construction projects may have different requirements than renovation projects. Also, research the prevailing rates for electrical work in your area to ensure that your bid is competitive. You can find information on prevailing rates from a variety of sources, such as online databases, industry associations, and other electricians in your area. Don't be afraid to ask for advice or guidance from experienced professionals. When determining your markup, consider the value of your services and the level of risk involved in the project. A high markup may be justified for complex or challenging projects, or for projects that require specialized expertise. Also, consider the demand for your services in your area. If you are in high demand, you may be able to charge a higher markup. A contingency plan is essential for any construction project, as unexpected expenses or delays are always possible. A contingency budget can help you cover these costs without cutting into your profit margin. Some common unexpected expenses include material price increases, unforeseen site conditions, and changes to the project scope. When preparing your formal bid proposal, be sure to include all the key information that the client needs to make an informed decision. The scope of work should clearly outline the tasks that you will perform, as well as any exclusions. The estimated cost should include a detailed breakdown of all the material and labor costs, as well as any overhead or markup. The payment schedule should specify when payments are due and the amount of each payment. The timeline should provide an estimated start and end date for the project, as well as any key milestones. Insurance and permits information should include proof of insurance and any required permits. Presenting your bid clearly and professionally can make a big difference in whether or not you win the project. Be sure to use clear and concise language, and avoid using jargon or technical terms that the client may not understand. Also, proofread your proposal carefully to ensure that there are no errors in grammar or spelling. When visiting the property, take the time to thoroughly inspect the existing electrical system, as well as any potential challenges or obstacles. Look for things like damaged wiring, overloaded circuits, and inadequate grounding. Also, consider the location of the electrical panel and any other key components of the electrical system. Requesting references from previous clients can help you build trust and credibility with potential clients. Be sure to provide a list of references with contact information and encourage clients to contact them to learn more about your work. Also, consider including testimonials from satisfied clients in your bid proposal. When negotiating with clients, be prepared to discuss your pricing and explain the value of your services. Be willing to make concessions, but don't be afraid to stand your ground if you believe that your pricing is fair and reasonable. Also, be sure to document any agreements or changes to the project scope in writing. Setting clear expectations is essential for avoiding misunderstandings and ensuring a successful project. Be sure to discuss the project timeline, deliverables, and payment arrangements with the client before starting work. Also, communicate regularly with the client throughout the project to keep them informed of your progress. Maintaining a professional demeanor is important for building trust and rapport with clients. Be sure to dress appropriately, be on time for appointments, and communicate respectfully. Also, be responsive to client inquiries and address any concerns promptly. In conclusion, bidding a house wiring project requires careful planning, accurate estimation, and effective communication. By following these tips, you can increase your chances of winning the project and delivering a successful outcome. Remember to prioritize safety, quality, and customer satisfaction in all your electrical work. When assessing the scope of work, pay close attention to the blueprints or architectural drawings if available. These documents provide valuable information about the layout of the house, the location of electrical outlets and fixtures, and any specific electrical requirements. If blueprints are not available, take detailed measurements of the house and create your own drawings to help you visualize the project. Also, consider any special features or requirements of the house, such as a home theater, a swimming pool, or a solar panel system. These features may require additional wiring or specialized electrical components. Be sure to factor these costs into your bid. When estimating the amount of wire required, use a wire length calculator to determine the exact length of wire needed for each circuit. These calculators take into account the distance from the electrical panel to each outlet or fixture, as well as any bends or obstructions. It's always a good idea to add a little extra wire to each circuit to allow for mistakes or changes. When choosing electrical boxes, consider the size and shape of the box, as well as the material it's made from. Plastic boxes are typically less expensive than metal boxes, but they may not be as durable. Metal boxes are required in some locations, such as in fire-rated walls or ceilings. When selecting switches and outlets, consider the amperage rating of the device. The amperage rating should be appropriate for the circuit it will be connected to. Also, consider the style and color of the device to match the decor of the house. When estimating labor costs, be sure to factor in the time required for any necessary demolition work, such as removing old wiring or fixtures. Also, consider the time required for cleanup and disposal of debris. These tasks can add significant time to the project. When calculating overhead costs, don't forget to include the cost of advertising and marketing your business. These expenses can help you attract new clients and grow your business. Also, consider the cost of professional development and training to keep your skills up to date. When researching prevailing rates, consider the experience and qualifications of other electricians in your area. Electricians with more experience and certifications may be able to charge higher rates. Also, consider the reputation of other electricians in your area. Electricians with a good reputation may be able to command higher prices. When determining your markup, consider the risk involved in the project. Projects with a higher risk of unexpected problems or delays may justify a high markup. Also, consider the complexity of the project. Projects with more complex wiring or specialized components may require a high markup. When creating your contingency plan, consider the potential for weather delays, material shortages, or unexpected site conditions. These factors can all increase the cost of the project. Also, consider the potential for changes to the project scope. Changes to the project scope can often lead to additional costs. When preparing your formal bid proposal, be sure to include a clear and concise summary of the project. This summary should highlight the key features of the project and the benefits of hiring you. Also, include a detailed list of all the materials and labor that will be required. When presenting your bid, be prepared to answer questions about your qualifications, experience, and pricing. Be confident in your abilities and be prepared to explain the value of your services. Also, be prepared to negotiate the price if necessary. When visiting the property, take pictures of the existing electrical system. These pictures can be helpful when planning the project and estimating costs. Also, take notes on any potential challenges or obstacles. These notes can help you avoid problems later on. When requesting references, choose clients who have had similar projects completed. These clients will be able to provide the most relevant feedback. Also, ask clients for permission to use their testimonials in your marketing materials. When negotiating, be willing to walk away from the project if the client's expectations are unrealistic. It's better to lose a project than to take on a project that is likely to be unprofitable. Also, be sure to get any agreements in writing before starting work. When setting expectations, be realistic about the project timeline and budget. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's better to be honest and upfront about the challenges of the project. Also, be sure to communicate regularly with the client throughout the project. When maintaining a professional demeanor, be respectful of the client's property. Treat their home with care and clean up after yourself. Also, be responsive to the client's needs and concerns. Address any issues promptly and professionally. Remember that providing excellent customer service is essential for building a successful business. By following these guidelines and paying close attention to detail, anyone can bid on a house wiring project with confidence.